Welcome to another episode of Follow the Brand TV. I am your host, Grant McGaugh, CEO of 5-Star BDM, a 5-star personal brand and business development company. I want to take you on a journey through another deep dive into the world of personal branding and business development using compelling personal stories, business conversations, and tips to improve your brand. By listening to the Follow the Brand TV series, you will differentiate yourself from the competition and build trust with prospective clients and employers. You never get a second chance to make a first impression. Make it one that will set you apart, build confidence, and reflect who you are. Building your 5-star personal brand is a great way to improve your skills and knowledge. If you have any questions for me or any of my guests, please email me at grant.mcgaugh@5starbdm.com. Now, let's begin with our next episode on the Follow the Brand TV. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Follow the Brand podcast, the TV broadcast. We have a podcast and a broadcast. I am your host, Grant McGaugh, CEO of 5-Star BDM, where we help you to build a 5-star brand that people will follow. Tonight, we will discuss the art of the brand with my featured guests, Dr. Eric Kelly III and Jacqueline Jimenez. Now, Dr. Eric A.W. Kelly III is an acclaimed business leader, entrepreneur, artist, author, poet, and community activist who lives in Durham, North Carolina. He has been the Black Business Expo USA CEO for over 40 years. The Black Business Expo USA is one of the largest business showcases in the history of Black America in North America. Kelly's purpose for the Black Business Expo is to raise scholarships for students and who are graduating from high school to attend college. Kelly has awarded more than 25 deserving students laptop computers and scholarship funds for over 30 years. The event's success opened the door for him to become a widely respected host of local radio and television shows. I want to play a clip for you right now to get a better understanding of Dr. Kelly as we welcome him to the Follow the Brand TV broadcast.
Artist to me is a creative expression of something from nothing. You know, it explodes onto the canvas, or it explodes on in my work. One of the things that I try to do more than anything is I try to just give the lines and the movements and emotions and expressions into what I do. Art really means to me a chance to express how I feel deep down inside. Most of my art begins as a thought of what I do as an artist. Bold is the size of my pieces, where I try to do the piece larger than life, kind of push forward toward you. That's what boldness is all about. It's not so much about the lines, it's about the size. My grandfather was pushing me to become a lawyer. And I told my grandfather, I said, well, I don't want to be a lawyer. I want to be an artist. Okay. And he looked at me. He walked out the room. I thought I was good. I thought, you got kids. I thought I was good. Then about a month later, he came back to my room and he said, what are you going to do? Are you going to be a lawyer or are you going to be an artist?
And I was kind of thinking, I said, well, I'm gonna go ahead and say I'm gonna be an artist. It'll be all over with. So I said, I'm gonna be an artist. He said, okay, if you're gonna be an artist, I got this big hall in the house, and we're gonna start you a museum.
Okay.
Now, I don't have a clue what a museum is. Okay. My great grandfather set me down and he started telling me things like, well, if you're gonna be an artist, people are gonna take advantage of you and want to get your work for free. They're gonna tell you how good it is, but at the end of the day, they're gonna want to get your work for free. And then he said, you gotta learn to sell your work to collectors only and don't just give it away.
Welcome back. And now we have Dr. Eric Kelly III with us. Thank you. Thank you so much for joining the show. How are you doing, Dr. Kelly?
Well, I'm doing great. Had an amazing day today, sat back and relaxed and look forward to this interview because a lot of times I don't do many interviews, but when I get an opportunity to sit down with you and the great things that you're doing with your company, it's always outstanding. And I'm happy to be here.
Well, I'm happy that you're here. And we're going to change it up a little bit tonight. I'm going to take off my host hat and I'm going to take a seat with you as an interviewee, right? And we're going to bring up someone very, very special to the podium right now. So my second guest is Jacqueline Jimenez. And she'll be the guest tonight or the interviewer tonight. So we're going to ask Dr. Kelly, him and me some questions about branding and the Black Business Olympics, as well as some of the things that Dr. Kelly has done as an artist. This is going to be very interesting. Now, Jacqueline Jimenez is a television and social media news coverage consultant and author of How to Get Television News Coverage. It's Easier Than You Might Think. Now, she has been a news producer and freelancer for over 30 years for ABC, NBC, CBS, and Fox affiliates. She is also the host of Newsworthy Stories with Jacqueline Jimenez, where she interviews guests and shares insider knowledge. So I'm going to play a small clip for you to get a better understanding of who she is, and then we're going to start our interviewing process. Thank you.
I don't know a single industry that cannot generate news coverage. The reason why you see stories about accidents or investigations, murder, politics, because those stories are easily accessible to the newsroom every day. But what's not easily accessible are the stories that come in the community, that come from you. I want you to come and learn how easy it is to get news coverage so that news will have a better balance. Get the email of the assignment desks of the ABC, NBC, CBS, and Fox affiliates. At least you are posting to your audience, whether you're on LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, any of them. That's your television audience, and you have to treat it that way.
Wow, there she is. Welcome, Jacqueline Jimenez, to the show. I am so pleased that you are here with us. I'm going to take off my host hat and give it all to you. So you got me and Dr. Kelly for the next hour or so.
And what a pair to have. What we're talking about, the art of branding, no problem here. I have two experts who have understood what it means to not only brand their business, but how to express it on platforms that people can, businesses in particular, that's what they're looking for. They've got these great ideas, these great businesses. They're just looking for a way to share it. And we're going to talk about that brand right now. And one of the things, since we did show that video of Dr. Kelly, I want to pinpoint what I find is an excellent point that your great grandfather shared with you. That moment that he shared with you to only sell to collectors.
Mm-hmm.
That's the beginning of branding right there, because you are the one who sets the brand. Talk about that.
Well, it was one of those days where, as a kid, you're thinking to yourself, how do I get out of this conversation? You know, and he began to also say, um, when you sell to collectors, and the reason to sell to collectors, and the reason is they will protect it, they will keep it, and they will honor the work. He used to say that art is like a child, and he would say that because he was a traveled man. A lot of times we come from different backgrounds as people, and we always hear the negative background. No father in the house, single parent moms. But when I came up, everybody was the mother, everybody was the father, and so my dad was my great grandfather, and he made sure that I did those little things. Like when he was talking to me about my art, and he said, "Well, if you're going to be an artist, where's your work?" I went to the side of the bed. I brought my work out because my grandmother always said, "If you're going to do something, do it and don't talk about it." And when I showed him my work, he was like, "Okay, now this is what we're going to do." So I come from a long line of people who plan, and I talk to business owners a lot. And when you talk about the brand, how do you plan for the brand? A lot of times people get in and they start talking about, well, this is my brand, this is my culture. Okay, you talked about the culture, you're talking about your brand, but how do you plan for that brand to have a narrative that people can look at and understand what your culture is? Many people don't talk about the brand and the culture. They just say, well, this is my logo and this is what we do. But what do you really do? What does your brand represent? We can talk about Pepsi Cola and Coca Cola. My favorite brand, everybody out here may have remember, plop, plop, fizz, fizz. Oh, what a relief it is. That there was to me, when I was a kid coming up, that was the number one commercial. And a lot of times what people don't understand about me is I didn't like to really watch television because I don't like to be a spectator. But I would show run into the house and be watching those commercials. And that was one of the reasons that I started Kelly Worldwide back in the day, was because I had an opportunity, or better yet, I had a love for commercials.
Well, let me tell you, you bring up that point of, these brands, Coca-Cola, Pepsi, Alka-Seltzer. And Grant, there's one thing that I share with people all the time. If I see your brand and I don't know who's behind the brand, then there's a problem. Grant, can you talk to me about, and I always use my references is, okay, we see McDonald's, right?
Yeah.
But many people don't know who the founder of McDonald's is unless you've watched the Netflix. Netflix put out something like a year ago or two. But we remember who the brand is for Wendy's, right? Who would that be?
Oh,
Dave,
his daughter.
Dave Thomas. Dave
Well, Dave
Thomas used to
Thomas as
be in
well.
front of
Yeah.
be in front. So you would know who Dave Thomas is because when you saw Wendy's, you thought of Dave Thomas when he was alive. So my thing is, if you're going to have a brand, when I see your brand, I don't want to just think of your product. I want to see your face. Can you talk about that, Grant?
I am so glad that you brought that up because my expertise is in personal branding. And when I talk to clients, I talk to entrepreneurs, people that are looking to start a business. First thing we have to do is talk about your strategy, your brand strategy. Let's not talk about all the creative things, as Dr. Kelly just talked about. Your logo and your messaging, your commercial. No. Let's step back. Let's talk about who you are. All right, and why you're doing this, and what's the reason behind it. How are you helping people with what you're doing? And think about today, the largest brands that are out there. Elon Musk is bigger than Tesla, right? Bill Gates was bigger than Microsoft. Oprah Winfrey, was bigger than OWN. So the personal brand has superseded the business brand in a lot of different ways. The CEOs of different companies now have to step out front. What is your story? What are you about? How are you traversing the world that you are in? Because everyone has different challenges. They want to hear from you. So I focus on the personal brand, who you are, the brand of you. What is your story? Let's hear your story. Let's think about that. A lot of times when I interview people, especially on the podcast, they like that because they don't get the opportunity to talk about themselves. And I always remind them of this. If you leave your company, you might have a great position. You might be doing great things. What's your story? And how is that story being told? Because as you said earlier, on LinkedIn and these different social media platforms, who are you without the cape of the company brand? So
Well,
you've got to develop that personal brand to be more effective in your career.
Well, I'll go back again to the artwork of Dr. Kelly. And one of the things I am certain of, but I don't know the answer, only Dr. Kelly knows it. And that is, when you have a brand, it should express a part of you.
Mm-hmm.
So in your artwork, you are an award-winning artist and you are an abstract expressive. Did I get that right, Dr. Kelly? I worked on that. Okay. And when you say abstract expressive, when you look at that, even the artwork behind you, it screams, speak to, it's speaking, it's saying something. What does your artwork say about you? And because that's a part of your brand. When I'm sure that, in that app, when people will see that artwork and they'll go, that's from Dr. Kelly.
Well, you're making one of the most profound statements on the planet when you begin to talk about what does what you do say about you. And of course, I chose this piece to put in the background because when people ask the question, what do I do? It took me 60 years to get to the artwork that's behind me. When you grow up in a town like Durham, North Carolina, the first Black Wall Street in this country, and then there's a guy by the name of Ernie Barnes who went to Hillside High School right here. You're under a shadow of greatness when you pick up a pencil or a pen and you start drawing. And when you're an artist and you begin to look at all the great artists, and you look at people like Charles White, Romare Bearden, and some of the great Black artists, the question becomes, how do you express yourself? And early I talked about the type of art that I do. I was coined as an expressive artist in high school, and many people call me an abstract expressionist. And so when I begin to talk about my artwork, and you're going to see lines, colors, and themes and portraiture, but I do more than portraiture. I do sculpture, and I'd say to a lot of people, however I feel is what I do. But if you look at Good Times, the artist behind Good Times was Ernie Barnes, and he was an inspiration to me to be an artist. But I like Charles White, and this is tantamount. This is, in the music terms, you got Earth, Wind, and Fire, and you have Parliament Funkadelic. And so I would say that Ernie Barnes was that Parliament Funkadelic, really, really flashy, really great lines and colors. And most of his work, the eyes were closed on the people. That was one of his signatures, and a lot of people didn't know that. So I tried my very best not to ever do anything with eyes closed.
There you go.
And when you look at Charles White, and Charles White was that really, really realistic type artist, more like your Earth, Wind, and Fire. And I wanted to bring those two together because I wanted to express how I came up with what I do. And it took me 60 years. So what I did was I took both of these great artists and I lived with them in my mind and looked at all the artists in the world and said, how can I create something that's going to be a Eric Kelly III? And so this style that I have, and for those who have not seen my style, they can go to erickellymuseum.org and you can see more of my work. But I created a style that I feel like is unique. I've gone on all of the social medias, the Googles, and I've looked at work for years, and I have not seen my style yet. And I think one of the biggest challenge of all artists is, do you follow the follower? Do you follow somebody else's work, or do you create something? And mind you, it is not easy to create anything when you start talking about art, because so many people are artists. And so when you begin to talk about my particular brand, I always say to people, my brand is an expression of how a person feels on the inside. My latest show is called Human Landscapes. And what
Mm-hmm.
Human Landscapes is, it's the lines, it's the colors, it's the feelings that you get when you see a piece of my work.
Let me ask, we're talking about the art of the brand, and Grant,
Mhm.
something about, you're talking about lines, but let's talk about the colors.
Mhm.
How the importance of the color in a brand. How do you get people's attention? How do you get people to see you even in the colors that you use?
Well, the question on that, and I like how Dr. Kelly just framed that because he starts from seeing nothing, and then from that nothingness, he draws out something. That is a powerful thing to do. That is the essence of creation. What a lot of people don't realize is that no matter who you are, as you walk around this earth, you are a rainbow of different colors, different hues about you. And only when certain, like maybe the sun and rainstorm might affect you, that you actually see those colors. But we all have colors, and colors affect mood, and they affect how you feel, like Dr. Kelly just said. So if you're going to choose color, like my colors I chose for my business, as you see behind me, right, are a very powerful expression of yellowish, kind of a fiery type color, and then some basics to kind of balance it out because it grabs attention. But that is because branding, when you think branding in your mind, it's an explosion of different colors, really. You see a lot of different things. It's like Dr. Keller talked about different commercials, different things. You hear sounds, you hear music, you hear, you can see all kinds of different things in your mind's eye. Our job is to then make it visible,
Yes.
right? Let's make that thing visible. But that's why we have to step back. And like I said, the major mistake that most entrepreneurs make, no matter what business you are, is that you start trying to execute before you strategize. And what does that mean? Before you found yourself,
Mm-hmm.
define yourself. What are you about? What is this about? Because once you start developing that, it develops into a story. And every story, like when you open your first book and you start reading it, you see something. That's why reading is so powerful, because your mind has to create the imagery. So as a branding person, and I'm not the creative side, right? I have people that do that. What I help you is to become creative. So I have to bring that out of you. I need to understand your vision. And then I get the creatives to recreate the mirrored image of what you're like, oh, that's what it is. Oh, I see it. And when you see it, the energy pours out, and then you can flow, for hopefully the duration of your business.
And I call it in my book, I call it the big question. When people see that story, when people see that promo, when people see whatever you post, what message do you want them to gain from it?
Mm-hmm.
How do you want them to respond? Do you want them to be aware? Do you want them to react? What is the purpose behind it? So your messaging, no matter, every post you put out is affecting your brand in some way or other. And you are leaving them with something, or you're leaving them with nothing. And if you don't leave them with something, they're not going to keep coming back. They're not going to follow the brand,
That's
right?
right.
They're not going to follow the brand. But you continue to share your story uh, as you go, and give them answer. You have to answer that big question first
Mm-hmm.
before you
Yes.
start deciding who you are and what your brand stands for. And a lot of people, especially professionals in particular, that have worked for other companies, but now are starting their own businesses, right? They don't know their own brand because they've been promoting somebody else's brand for so long. So it's
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
so very important for you to to come up with your own. I think it's about time for us to take a break. And so when we come back, we're going to talk about the platform in which you can place your important brand and your business and a way to express it all in one place. We'll be right back.
What if you could build your own city? A place where every child can find nurturing people to help them achieve their full potential. A place where every adult can access job training support. Where health education is abundant. Where social justice ruled the land. A place without limitations. Welcome. You have arrived at STEM City, USA. It is what every city should be. A safe and trusted community where you find people and resources to help you become everything you are and beyond. STEM City is unlike anything you have ever experienced. It is a digital twin of the world around you, only better. STEM City is about energy and soul renewal. It is more than a digital world. You can almost feel the power of live cultural events, music, and theater. STEM City promises a better future for children with caring mentors and hands-on activities with dedicated tutors to support our youth. STEM City is your passport to a healthy lifestyle with weekly events addressing our community's many issues. STEM City is your financial well-being with helpful information on wealth management, career advancement, job training, and so much more. STEM City is the community you deserve. It is the city where your dreams can come true. STEM City USA, a place in the sky that is accessible to all who reach for the stars.
La collection La collection
In a world obsessed with the cult of celebrity, I challenge you not to aspire to anyone else's greatness, but instead strive to reveal and ignite the greatness within you.
Are you serious?
I totally think that that's it.
Hey.
No!
Hey! To me, sexy is a man that knows who he is and what he wants.
Okay.
He's comfortable. You look at him, you see him, he's just comfortable being himself. And you're like,
Baby, be you.
Be you, baby.
Just be you. I like it. Introducing the BU collection, exclusively available at K&G Fashion Superstore.
A 10-year-old founder of a company. Meet Carter, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh man, I can just smile so big, when I see, that was video of now he's 11 years old. Carter Bonus of Spectrum Golf. He is one of my clients, him and his mother, Dr. Thelma Tenney. Uh, just an amazing young man. He is a branding king at the
Mm-hmm.
age of 11.
Mm-hmm.
He designed his own brand,
Mm-hmm.
and he is autistic, high on the spectrum. So he calls his brand Spectrum Golf. And he is touring the country, sharing his story of the bullying that he received. He couldn't speak till he was 4. You have to see this young man's story. To learn more, go to Carter's with an S, cartersspectrumgolf.com. Because I will go crazy talking about Carter. So I'm gonna bring it back, bring it back. You are
Well, well, we want you to keep talking about Carter because if you look at what just happened, we went to break and we was talking about the brand, the colors of your brand. And of course, Grant talked about his gold and his black. And of course, my brand colors, as you see in my background, is red, black, and white. But if you look at that young man and you look at his brand, you can actually see what Grant was talking about. Because a lot of times what happens is when we're having these I call them intellectual conversations, or we're having these life-changing conversations, we really can't see what we're saying. But the reason that we are all in this marketing and advertising piece is because we're able to display what we say. It's an art form. If we didn't see that young man at all, and it was any other kid and not Carter, and we just watched the golf ball. We watched the Superman 6 insignia with the golf ball in the middle. We watched the lettering that he had there, and then you watch the shirts and you watch him playing. It could have been anybody, and that's what the brand is all about. That anybody, like the jump man for Michael Jordan,
Mhm.
anybody can put that on, and you say, okay, that's Michael. And so, as brand professionals, one of the things people have to understand that there are different levels. I was fortunate enough to run Kelly Worldwide for over 40 years. And the word brand, when I started out, was not a word. It was either advertising, it was marketing, it was public relations, it was merchandising. Those were the four that either you were in one of those. BBDEO, the black group out of Chicago. That's what we all were in. And then one day, culture came along. So now, what is your culture? How do you use your culture to build your brand? And when they changed it over to branding, I can remember like it was yesterday. When they changed it over to branding, then they started looking for specialized companies to do branding. And when you break down advertising, advertising only means telling you what to think. It is the bells and whistles. The public relations piece is the news about your information. But the gas that runs your advertising is the marketing. And then, of course, merchandising is always the honeypot to the brand.
But it is the brand that in that particular piece that
Mm-hmm.
Carter created, the S, for
Yes.
spectrum,
Mhm.
and the G, but he is also dyslexic. And so
Mhm.
he accidentally
Hmm.
spelled placed the G backwards. And at first,
Wow.
his mom was like, we need to correct it. But then his dad was like, no, no, just leave it. It looks good. And so when I first met Carter, I said, Carter, why'd you make this logo? He goes, I thought golf needed a logo. I mean, that was his answer, you know? And so that was it. He had been introduced to the game of golf and he loved it. All the
Mm-hmm.
clothes were itchy. And the fact that we were in the middle of the pandemic, okay, this was born out of the pandemic for him because
Mm-hmm.
he thought, what if my parents die? I'm autistic. I've been bullied in school. Nobody likes me. Who's going to hire me? And so he begged his parents to let him start his own business because he was afraid no one would hire him if they were gone. Forward thinking? Yes. So,
Yes. Hey, I would.
insane. And, layer after layer upon that story. And that's why I say, go check that out. You want to learn a little bit about branding,
Right.
uh, and the
What
art,
is his
and it's
website?
beautiful.
What
It is
is his website?
Carter's with an S, cartersspectrumgolf.com. Go to the press page and you'll just be like, what? And I get I get the benefit of covering, 99% of his stories. But we'll go to that in a minute.
Yep.
Let's get back to where we are right here, okay?
Okay.
Let's get back
This is
to
good information. This is what it's about.
it's so exciting. I'm in love working with you, the two of you right here, because you have not only do we have a brand and not only do we have a business, but now we need a platform to share it.
Mm-hmm.
And so talk to me about the Black Business Expo, but what is the Black Business Olympics? I love that title, by the way.
Well, the Black Business Expo was started back in 1991. My grandmother came to me after I stopped selling cars and opened up my ad agency because I didn't have any money. So, I'm one of those people who say, oh, how can I get some money? I got to do what I got to do. And so I started my ad agency, and my grandmother came in my office and she said, because she was one of these negotiators, she was the Black lady that would walk into a room, and when white folk didn't want to give Black people a raise, she would convince the white people to give them a raise, and then she would convince the Black people to take that small raise, and then she would say, we're going to keep bringing the raise up. This is where we're starting, but we're going to bring it up. So she was one of those chief negotiators. So I spent a lot of time with my grandmother in those rooms. And so when she brought it to me, she said, a lot of times white corporations say they can't find corporate competent Black businesses. And she said, I want you to do a show. She didn't call it a trade show, a show showcasing Black businesses and white businesses and coming together to do business. And so we started that back in 1995. And I know we don't have a lot of time to talk about all the ebbs and flows of what happened, but we started back in 1995, and we ended up with 350 business owners, with about 7,000 people coming to Durham every year for one of the largest business showcases in the history of Black business. And so when the pandemic hit, we were negotiating with the hotel here, and the guy was saying, well, man, I don't know what's going to happen. It don't look like you're going to have a show. And we had moved our show to August because August is Black Business Month. And so I said, well, we'll move the show to August and we'll do two shows, one in the spring, one in the winter. And so what happened was we kept having this conversation, and the governor came on television and he said, well, it's a pandemic. Only 10 people can be in the room, which meant that I got to have 7,000 people. Okay. So that I got to have 350 business owners so that I could have my show. And so once we found out we wasn't going to have a show, we did move it from August all the way to November in hoping we was going to have the show. And so I went to my board meeting with my mother, and I was just joking. I said, we ought to do something like the Olympics. Everybody's at home. We ought to do 7 days a week, and we ought to do a show that talking about business, and we ought to lay it out like a business plan. Mind you, I'm joking. I don't mean none of this. I'm just joking. And then my mother looked at me and said, you are absolutely right. That's what we ought to do. Now you do it.
Now you do it.
And so every one of my friends, this was the first time that I ever tried something where all my friends did not believe that it would work. I had so much, it's going to be too long because I was talking about from 10 to 4. Attention spans too long, it's too short. People are not going to tune in, this. And I was like, well, y'all need to stop telling me something won't work that has never been tried. Right. And so what I did was I got on the phone, I got on LinkedIn and Facebook, and I started reaching out to people. And folks started saying, well, I'll present at this time, I'll present at that time. And before you know it, I had speakers from 8 o'clock in the morning to 8 o'clock at night, 7 days a week.
Wow.
My best friend who had a network, he has a network, and he was arguing with me every day so much that it wouldn't work. I had to shut my phone down and not pick up the phone because I know exactly what he was going to be saying. And so the day before the show, and mind you, you're going to love this because I was on television for about 20 years and radio for about another 20 years. but I couldn't find any anchors. I couldn't find any moderators, right? So the very first show, I moderated 12 hours a day.
My.
Good
Oh my
evening, ladies and
goodness.
gentlemen. Hi, and welcome to the Black Business Olympics. And so I
It
did
was Olympics.
It was Olympics. So I called him up the day before the show, and I said to him, I said, look, man, I'm getting ready to go live. And do you know, every hour on the hour, he was calling me, asking me, where did you get this speaker from? Where did you get that speaker from? And while he was saying that, I waited to the last show, and I called him up that Monday, and I said, you told me that we weren't going to be able to do it. You said people weren't going to come, and we looked on Facebook, and we had 38,000 people to come to our first show.
Well, not only that, you had an audience that was home. You know,
At home.
they were looking to social media, and this was probably inspiring them, you know, and they had probably not been inspired in some time. Now, Grant, I know that you have been a speaker. Can you tell us, what can a speaker expect, you know, if they participate in the Black Business Expo?
Well, I'm gonna continue on his story because you know what he's doing, and it is phenomenal because he did the first show was 38,000. He got a hold of me, and I think it was like the first part of 2022, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he tells me, he reaches out to me on LinkedIn. You know, at that point, I did not know Dr. Kelly. And he said, hey, would you like to be a speaker on the show? I said, yeah, let me take a look at it. You know, let me see what's going on. He said, well, you know, I'm just telling you, you're going to be showcased at over 200 countries. I said, 200 countries. Yeah, you're probably going to get somewhere around 300,000-400,000, maybe 1 million people might see, you know, what you're doing as a business. If you are interested, get back to me. I said, wait, hold on. How much does it cost?
Exactly.
Like, nothing but your time.
Wow.
I said, He said, well, how much time do I get? He said, okay, I got you I can get you a keynote. That's an hour. I can do a fireside chat. That's another hour. I can get you a panel. And you can do either or you can do all three. I went, okay, all right. Let me step back. Remember, I'm doing my podcast. So I've got speakers, I've got people, I've got a nice network. I thought this was good. I said, yeah, you know what? I'm going to tell my story about personal branding on this first. I'm gonna pull it together, right? I'm gonna do this. Now, I've never done this quite like this online. And I tell people to hold a show, hold the audience attention for an hour. No PowerPoint, no other, it's like we're doing right now, you know, no other props or anything. It's just you having a conversation with 1 million people that you can't see. So I said, okay, I think I'm going to do this. And, you know, got to work, sat back, pulled myself together, and I did the first keynote. I think it was back in March. Yeah, it was back in March. And I was able to get, now this was phenomenal. For my fireside chat, was about 3 or 4 days later, and I was able to get a metaverse subject matter expert. He was a very well-known, name was Christopher Lafayette. He was my fireside chat. Now this happened on my birthday. True story.
Yeah.
It's on March 26th. My birthday's 8 in the morning. He's out in California. It's 5 in the morning. And we get to talking about the metaverse as a concept and what that would really look like and what we're journeying into as a culture, as a human race. It was phenomenal. It was. I tell everybody, you need to go back and see this 1 hour. I just sat back and let it play. You will learn so much. And that was phenomenal. So in the background, Mr. Kelly is going like, Dr. Kelly is telling me, Grant, one of my anchors can't come up. Something happened. Can you come up and be an anchor? I'm like, well, I don't even know what to say. I'm going to send you the script. You'll be good. Don't worry about it. He sends me the script. I'm looking at it. I don't have anything. I'm no prep, right? I'm looking on my phone. That's what I did. I looked at the phone and I'm just going on and on and on. I did it, right? It was, if you go back and see that first clip, you'll see that I pulled it together, right? But we did it fun. And I would tell people that you have an opportunity, you have a platform for Black business owners, entrepreneurs. There's so many of them out there that need to get their message out. You have a platform. All we're asking you is for your time. Now, I'm going to say one more thing. So we're asking for a little bit more because we're doing this for a purpose. There's
There you
a purpose with this. We are having scholarships for our kids, for the next generation. We need money for computers. We want to give laptops to graduating seniors. This is why we do this. This is the purpose of it. You know, I'm in tech industry, and I want them like, hey, Apple, Lenovo, Microsoft, Dell, you know, or any other person. Like, this is what we're doing to help our kids to get the knowledge and the experience and the creativeness that's going to need to take place in this new tech-centric world.
And you know what? You're also building a legacy because you're building another generation of people that for the recipients. They're going to say, okay, I received financial help, you know, from the Black Business Expo or the Black Business Olympics. And then later on, they'll have a place to go forward to. They'll say, oh, I want to start a business. And people will start to look, you know, plan to be entrepreneurs instead of, you know, after being in business or working for the corporations for many years and then becoming, you know, and deciding that, you know what, I can do this as a consultant. I can do this as a business. So, you know, we are definitely investing and it is an education, even for the adults, you know, who have been in business or just been working all these years. That's what you're teaching. You know, you're teaching them, we've got a platform for you to learn how to speak, you know, because speaking is so important if you don't share your story. And Grant, you really haven't shared your story. And I was really hoping to get more of that in, but we'll see. I know we have to take another break.
Oh, yeah.
But
this is my story. You got my story. That's it.
There's more to your story.
And Jacqueline,
yes, sir.
And Jacqueline, I think one of the points that Grant really hit home, and generally when I start talking about the Black Business Olympics or the Expo, is the why we do it. And the why that we do it is we want to change the narrative. There are several narratives about Black people. Right now, the average age in the world is 31 years old. It's 15 in Africa, it's 27 in England, it's 26 and 27 in North America, and then in Brazil, it's right at 29. And so if we keep pushing our products and services to older people in 10 years, we all are going to be obsolete. And the why that we do it is so we can change the narrative for our kids to be thinking about playing basketball, football, being rappers, singers, and dancers, and rump shakers, and that criminal element that's pushed to them every day. We want to change that narrative. And then a narrative, I say, is Martin Luther King's, is Malcolm X's, is Marcus Garvey's narrative. And that's the narrative that Black people can't work together. And we have done it quarterly last year, and we've had over 10 million people to come, and we're doing it every other month this year. And we've had over 300,000 each one of the 3 months that we've done it. But the thing that I want to share with the world is this, that our kids, when they go to college, that we help them compete by giving them laptop computers and up to $5,000. But more importantly, to build a quarter globally where Black people can really, really build capacity and work together. Because if we're doing that work, then when things cut off on one side of the planet and things cut off on another side of the planet, we still can connect, because that telephone that we have in our hand is truly a magnificent apparatus of change. And we have to continue to use that as we move forward.
Thank you. Yes, collaboration is the key. I think we're going to take a break, and we come back, we're going to talk about how we all are tied together.
Follow the Brand TV broadcast host, Grant McGaugh, as he visits with top executives and entrepreneurs to find out their secrets of success with their personal brand. Follow the Brand TV broadcast host as he focuses on brand development to build better relationships, bring value to your business, relationships, and career. You will enjoy listening to each episode that is tailored to speak to you directly. If you're looking for this type of clarity in terms of building your brand, you have tuned into the right station. Each episode will help you to shape a conversation in the 5-Star BDM network of 20,000 professionals and become a springboard for your corporate engagement and business opportunities. Each guest will frame their story in the areas of personal branding, business development, career development, financial empowerment, and technology innovation. Grant McGaugh explains why he is the CEO and owner of his own professional career. Grant is an accomplished business leader and entrepreneur who wants to give back to individuals to grow their personal brand strategy. Tune in as he weaves his story about new possibilities, while to you exceed expectations. If you love storytelling, this show will make for fun.
How many times have you been asked to help someone you didn't even know, a student, a business entrepreneur? Or did you ever even ask, where did they end up? That business, that friend, that entrepreneur. Well, just maybe they ended up in a gang, bankrupt, homeless, or worse, dead. Maybe they turned to crime, drugs, and alcohol. Did you ever wonder? Did you destroy their dream, or was your life always so easy? At the Black Business Olympics, we started a movement to help students complete. Give them hope and foster success. Help them to leave their dreams of providing laptop computers and up to $5,000 in scholarship funds. Today, we ask you to help a student, a business owner, or an entrepreneur to realize their dreams by sponsoring them, supporting them, and buying from them. Consider this. With $1.6 trillion in our Black community, we only ask for a small donation for our students, our businesses, and our entrepreneurs. And you can change a life today. So I ask you, what are you going to do? Sit on the sideline and watch our students in high school be losers, miss out on their dreams from lack of resources? Or are you going to donate to the movement and change their future and yours as well? Give us a call today at 919-308-9090. Change their life by investing with action to the Black Business Olympic Fund. The Black Business Olympics, one of the largest business showcases of Black business in the history of the world.
Welcome back. You're watching Follow the Brand with Grant McGaugh and Dr. Eric Kelly III. And I'm Jacqueline Jimenez with Newsworthy Stories. And we are talking about the art of the brand. And we have been talking about how to create the brand, the colors you should use, the vision behind the brand. But what I want to tell you about a little bit is we talk a little bit more about that personal branding, right? That Grant was talking about earlier. And that is, no brand gets known without the media. And no one is famous without the media. We are the ones, whether it's television, social media, digital media, newspapers, radio, you name it. It doesn't go anywhere unless you do it through the media. And there's so many different ways that happens. And that's why I think that balance between not only knowing that vision, but how you tell that story, where it's engaging. You have a brand that's engaging with colors, right? One that represents you, one that shares your vision, but you have to have a story behind it. And, for me, Grant, I love the story of how you started 5-Star BDM. To me, that should, pointing the finger, because So many people right now, you know why? It's relatable. It is relatable right now to how so many people, uh, entrepreneurs over the last couple of years have started their companies. Can you share a little bit about that?
Sure. I'm glad you asked. I went, matter of fact, we had a mutual friend, and we just had him on the show like 2 weeks ago, Hutch, Jerome
Hmm.
Hutch.
Hmm.
And during the pandemic, it was early 2020, took a course called Biz Hack Academy. And it was so good. It was so good. It's a partnership with iCaba. And what it did was to help me hone in on my story. And the message is that everyone, every single person on this planet has a story. And when I say a story that's newsworthy. It is and what I mean by that is that it helps someone else on their journey.
Mm-hmm.
But you have a responsibility to tell that story. Now, I've been in corporate America for, I don't know, 30 years, maybe more, something like that. I've had an IT background for the last 25 years. And I made this pivot into branding, right? Business development, because I have something to give back to individuals. Dr. Kelly said something very, very important earlier, is that we all leave a legacy, whether we like it or not. Whether you were chronically unemployed, or you were on drugs or alcohol, you had some other problems or whatever it is, you know what? That's the narrative. Someone is tuning into that narrative. That is the story. That is the legacy that you're leaving, but in a smaller world of your family and probably some of your friends. It is up to us as individuals to dig deeper into ourselves and ask that question: what is the narrative of my life?
And you know why it's important? What I tell people is right now, in particular, people are more likely to buy into you than to whatever you're selling.
Yeah,
that's right.
If they understand you, if they know what's behind you, kind of like Carter's story. Carter, the layers behind the fact that he didn't speak before he was 4, the bullying he endured, the fact that he was ready to kill himself, you know, to turning the love of golf and, and turning to mental health services, to help save his life.
Mhm.
This boy is just turned 11. Why would he need to go through that? But that is a
Right.
story right now and a narrative, unfortunately, that millions in this country and beyond can relate to. And just that need, just that not being understood, but he turned it into something so positive. And what does he call it, right? Embrace the difference. He's autistic and he is such a forward thinker. And so those stories and relating what you do, the number one thing you want to do in a business when it comes to the news is relate what you do to what the news is already covering. News can only cover so much. They only have so many crews to go out and cover a story. And if you really want to get into, how that's done, come back to me. I'm at newsworthystory.com. My business is Newsworthy Stories, but my website is newsworthystory.com. Okay. I have these workshops that point you in the right direction, but more so give you story ideas. Learn how to become an expert in a news story. Okay. You'll get practice on the Black Business Expo
Well, I
or
tell
Black
you, Jacqueline, you are so important because there's so many people, and you don't realize that your story is newsworthy. And then if you have that story, how do you then bring it to like a news station? And what you said earlier was that they're hungry for these kinds of stories because if they're only going to rerun what they've got. So if they have other stories, it's like Carter's story. There's so many people out here that have special talents. I
He
believe
was on the news last night.
everyone is gifted. Every
He
person is gifted.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
I wanted to definitely say, as I was sitting here talking about the Black Business Olympics and what we are all about, that we're going to have Carter to be at our Olympics. We will definitely be talking to, and Grant already knows. He knows where my heart is. I see a vision of young people doing the work that we're doing now. I see a lot of times, and I know our time is getting ready to be gone. I see a lot of times that we're doing the work and standing on the shoulders of our ancestors. And Our shoulders are just here for them to stand on our shoulders to do the real work. I shouldn't be doing the Black Business Olympics. This should be done by somebody that's 20, 21, 24, and 25. But until that person arrives, I got to stand up so that 25 or 26-year-old can stand up. And so that 12, 13, and 14-year-old person can get an opportunity.
Grant, I'm going to ask you to close this out.
Oh, no, man, that was wonderful. I want to thank both of you for being guests on Follow the Brand TV broadcast. You know, Dr. Kelly has been on my podcast. I've been on his platform. We shared each other's platform. Jacqueline, this is your first time being on my platform. I want to, return the favor, be on your platform. The more that we share amongst ourselves, we're going to have Jacqueline also on the Black Business Olympics. Ooh. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Bring your A game so you can get that gold medal. We're going to definitely do that.
Of course. Did you hear him? He got a gold medal. We actually give the speakers medals. We're not playing no games. And I know we got to go, but we're going to be doing a physical event. And the person that's handling our physical event announced on yesterday that we're going to do the Black Business Olympics in different countries, where we're going to bring Black people from all over the world together, and they're going to compete in their businesses. If you're in advertising, your advertising agency is going to work with some students who want to be in advertising. You're going to do advertising with them. And at the end of the year, then we're going to see who has the best advertising that helps kids get rid. I'm letting it out the bag. I'm letting it out the bag.
More to come. More to come.
Wonderful.
Stay
We've
tuned.
got to wrap
Stay
up
tuned.
and get out of here. Mark is moving us forward. We love the IBM.TV network, Pod TV. We're streaming on Roku. We're streaming on LinkedIn. We are streaming on YouTube. We're on Facebook. So make sure that you check us out. You can definitely come to my website at www.5starbdm. And that is B for brand, D for development, and for masters.com. Thank you very much and enjoy the rest of your evening.
Five-Star BDM, Brand Development Masters, is a professional consulting and advisory group keenly focused on business development services for the small to mid-sized business and entrepreneurs. Although every business is unique, they often share business development challenges that can be addressed through smart branding. Services include process improvement and operations, digital strategy and transformation, business intelligence, digital marketing, and personal branding. Our business and personal branding company has helped a number of professionals and organizations to optimize and grow. This results in more business, more opportunities, better reach, positive outcomes. Visit www.5starbdm.com today to learn more.